急にくっつかれてびっくりしただけだから。別に無理にとは。
待って見る絶対見るし。
Medaka episode number 4. I was chowing down during some lunch while watching this episode, and as you guys know, I've told everyone time and time again, if you've been familiar in the channel, when it comes to reviewing something weekly, when it comes to watching something weekly, when you're watching it, your opinion / enjoyment of said episode is all going to be very relative to your mood that day. Are you having a good day? Are you having a bad day? Did it uplift your day? Did it add to your bad day? Was it just an okay episode? Was it a great episode? You know, these things are all very mood oriented. There is a real reality to where myself and you can watch an episode of a show and maybe you're having a shit day, right? Like you're just having a doo-doo day, which we all have, okay? Or maybe you're just having just a normal, like, it's just a day. And you watch something, you're like, that was okay. And then you go back, you know, maybe you rewatch it again for whatever reason. Maybe you watch the dubbed or something. You're like, oh man, that was a great episode, you know? So there's a reality where that can happen. Now, the reason I'm saying that is I thought the first 75% of today's episode was really boring. And it kind of sucks because I love this show and I didn't laugh at all, you know? And I'm eating pho right now, you know what I mean? I'm in a prime real estate to have that, you know, moment where I'm like, ah! And it just didn't happen this episode, which I think is fine. You know, not every episode needs to crack me up, but I didn't laugh. So it takes us through the bridge moment, and it has Mona, you know, doing her antics and stuff, trying to get herself to hold hands with Medaka. She fails, and you know, she tells him about the whole love bridge stuff, and he's like, oh no. So then she falls and he picks her up from her pits instead of her hands because he's like, oh, I don't want to cross that boundary. You know, she just told me about this, which if Mona's thinking for a second, it's like, yeah, he wouldn't want to cross this boundary. You know what I mean? Like you just told him like, hey, if you hold hands, you're going to be stuck with one another forever kind of thing. You know what I mean? So he doesn't. They go back to the class. They finish the stuff. And her friend, the purple hair, black hair girl, she sets up another moment for Mona and Medaka to get together and carry the desk out. Well, because she legitimately like falls and like, you know, somebody's gonna hit her, he grabs her by the hand. So they share their bridge moment, and he's like, oh no, I'm so sorry, I didn't mean it. You know, hey, the festival's over, it doesn't count, blah, 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 blah. Okay, that's cute. It was cute, okay? It was a cute moment. Then flash forward, and they're having their moments in class or whatever. They're seeing a bunch of couples everywhere. You know, Mona's getting all flustered. They go to a bowling event because they're like, okay, let's go celebrate our stuff in bowling. They share a cool moment. And I did laugh at this moment. You know, I didn't laugh. Maybe I chuckled. Maybe I smiled. I'm telling you, I was eating. So maybe I just smiled. But like, I thought it was a fun moment where, you know, she created that moment with the Coke bottle. And she was like, "Ooh," you know, she took the Coke bottle. She's like, you know, this was an indirect kiss. How you feel about that? Here, have it back. And he's like, I'm good. You take it. And she's like, ah. And I was like, oh my God. And during that moment, I was thinking back to, and I have to think really far back. I'm old, okay? So I had to think really far back to high school. And I was like, man, I used to share drinks. And it's kind of gross, actually, when you think about it. But I had friends, you know, I would share drinks with that were girls at that time. And I'm trying to think, like, I never had a moment, like I remember, and I guess it was girls flirting and stuff, but, you know, I remember, like, you know, during class periods and stuff, I'd be, like, you know, drinking, like, I don't know, a Gatorade or a Powerade, or, you know, I'd typically go for, like, Gatorade or Powerade when I was in high school, or just general, just, like, water, you know what I mean? And as you're just, you know, chit-chatting, you know, while you're between classes, I remember, you know, I used to have a lot of girlfriends, you know, and I remember a few of them would, like, they would come and steal my drink or whatever, and I would steal it back. And I would never think in that moment, like, oh, this is like an indirect kiss. Like, that's not a part of our culture here in the West. So, like, I never had those moments. And I'm just like, man, in a part of me kind of wishes like we had that, like that was like a thing. Of course, I think, you know, depending on what generation you grew up in, we all had cooties, right? Like girls have cooties, but that pretty much goes away after like elementary school. Like that little cootie stigma thing or whatever, like that kind of like goes away. And it just wasn't a thing. So I was like, man, was there ever an event where I blushed? I don't think I really blush, you know, I'm a brown man. So I was like, but is there a moment where I felt embarrassed or something of like sharing like an item with a girl or something? I was like, and I don't think there has ever been one. And I'm like, man, it's kind of cool in a way, but at the same time, it's like super lame because it's like, it's just sharing a drink. You know what I mean? Obviously, don't go sharing stuff with strangers, but like if you know each other and you're friends or, you know, close, whatever you want to call it, if you're not friends yet, but you know each other, it's like, it's not that weird. Like I would prefer not to share my boba. Like it's my boba, girl. Like, you know what I mean? Like I would prefer not to share it, but I don't know. I don't think about it, you know. I don't think we think about that stuff in the West. And maybe, you know, tell me a story if maybe you did. You know, again, it's very generational. Like if you're growing up right now and you're a young man or a young girl and you're watching anime like this, like that, those kind of thoughts might get into your brain. But, you know, I went to freaking school like 20 years ago at this point, you know what I mean? So it's like, we weren't even thinking about that kind of stuff. It was more just like, bitch, get my drink. You know what I mean? Like I was trying to finish that, you know? So I just thought that was funny, not because the show was funny, but like that moment was just got me thinking of like, we don't have that indirect kiss stuff. And I'm just like, it's so silly if you think about it. It's like, who really cares? Like, it's not an indirect kiss. You're putting your lips on the same thing, but not at the same time. You know what I mean? Like, it's different times. So it's like, I don't know. Anyways, so that happens. And then at the end of the episode, you know, he gets a whole scolding from all the boys, you know, from his friends, the boys in class about, you know, hey, don't be a dick. Be nice to her. And they're like, yo, does your religion mean you got to be an asshole to people? And he's like, oh, crap. He's like, no, it doesn't. It just means I can't have romance, you know? I don't think they think, and I don't think he thinks that being nice will cause romance to happen. But the reality is, as he begins to portray himself one way and gets feelings back, he's going to naturally fall in love. So the forbidden love or whatever, for whatever reason, his dumb religion, is going to happen, you know? So I guess there's that. But yeah, overall, and the last 25% episode I thought was funny, you know, when she like shoved the desk and they had their moments. I thought the last portion of the episode was pretty funny. Again, it was humorous, not necessarily I was bawling out laughing this episode. But I would think this is probably the first just okay episode of the season. I would say this was like a 6 out of 10, maybe 7 out of 10 episode. It was just okay. So hopefully next week is a lot better. Next week's episode is called Basketball Girl with Him. So I'm guessing maybe that girl who came to the festival is probably gonna, maybe she was like on the basketball team or something. Because remember, I had speculated that the girl who wanted to see Medaka originally, like, oh, she must have been like a sports oriented thing. Like she must have had her eye on him. This kind of solidifies that, and I could be really off base, but you know, I'm guessing that Mona's gonna get really jealous. So yeah, I'll see you guys next week. I think next week's episode will be a lot better. I'll see you then. Have a good rest of your week. Peace out, my friends.